The world has an attention problem. You have an attention problem. In today's world, we have built a digital media attention economy that has monetized people's attention, feeding on the fundamental human need to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. And as a result, we all live a life where we are constantly distracted, bouncing from stimulus to stimulus, unable to find our inner sense of balance. It is as if the entire environment of the whole world has converted the entire world's population into a bunch of ADHD individuals. In the 1970s, a team of psychologists conducted what was called the rat park experiments. They housed rats in sterile enclosures without the company of other rats and without access to any stimulating activity. And they had only two options. Either they could drink plain water or they had water that was laced with an addictive drug. And what the psychologists found was that the rats would compulsively drink the addictive drug-laced water until they died. Whereas the rats that were housed in rich, stimulation-enriched environments with toys and the company of other rats mostly ignored the access to drug-laced water. The availability of connection and companionship with other rats and the availability of stimulating activity made them resilient to the temptation of an addictive drug. It turns out that we humans are not much different. Similar experiments by sociologists and psychologists have shown that when we are emotionally and socially malnourished, we become susceptible to every click, like, and notification that promises us a quick hit of validation, a quick hit of cheap dopamine. Quick because it's available on demand. Cheap because we don't need to do the real work of a relationship to get it. It is porn for our attention, and the attention merchants have figured this vulnerability out and created platforms that triggers our dopamine responses, just like some of the most addictive substances known to man. And we collectively run after clicks and likes and views and hoping that they will fulfill an emotional lack that we feel but we don't know the source of. After 42 years of treating patients and helping them overcome physical, biological, emotional, and mental challenges, I have found that in a world that constantly demands our attention, the ability to stop seeking digital approval and instead finding what makes us whole, makes us free. Just like a person, a well-fed person makes healthy food choices in the grocery store, an internally self-satisfied person makes healthy choices in digital online engagement. I had to find this lesson out the hard way. Years ago, as a young doctor, when I was starting out my practice, I had started a solo practice in the midst of a sea of well-established practice. And I believed that the only way I could survive was to give incredible access. I would go to bed sleeping with a bucket next to my bed and a towel. I would be perpetually available to all my patients 24/7, 365, and they could reach me at all hours of the night, and they did. I would answer 2 a.m. phone calls by splashing water on my face, washing myself, and sounding perfectly alert. And my patients loved this perpetual access. They loved that I was catering to their every whim and need without ever demanding that they hold any accountability for themselves. Then one night, I woke up with a wave of nausea that overwhelmed me. I staggered to the bathroom floor and started throwing up, but the waves of nausea would not stop. Finally, I got myself admitted in a hospital where they diagnosed me with a small gastric stress ulcer. Lying in that hospital bed, I figured I had an epiphany of sorts, and I realized that if I died right then and there, all my patients would have been able to find another doctor within 24 hours of my demise. This was not about them. It was about me and my own internal lack of self-worth and my hunger for external validation through attention. I stepped out of that hospital the next day, went back and started setting some boundaries. I started engaging with patients after first taking care of my own well-being, and my practice never suffered. I started seeing a new breed of patients, people who were truly ill, who valued what I gave them, and put my advice to good use. My reputation as a doctor who cared for his patients started spreading, and my patients valued the fact that I demanded that they hold themselves accountable, and that empowered them. My transformation began with a contextual shift in my own self-worth from a position where I was engaging to receive something and reward myself to a new position where I was engaging as an act of contributory self-expression, coming out from a state of fulfillment. This contextual shift made me a better doctor and taught me that I could engage in attention-seeking roles without getting controlled by them. Today, we have multiple voices demanding that we should have a digital detox, we should set boundaries to screen time, and so on and so forth. But in my opinion, all these strategies are just like trying to close the barn door before the horse bolts. By contrast, what I am offering and suggesting is, how about we teach the horse not to run in the first place? My focus is about shifting our engagement and developing an ability to resist the seductions of the attention economy, shifting our engagement to the attention merchants and to find ourselves first internally fulfilled and satisfied and approach our engagement from a position of prior satisfaction. This requires that we have a shift in our own sense of self and self-worth and find our own internal sense of balance before attempting to engage. And such a method produces a greater, lasting sense of agency and control that spills out into all other aspects and facets of our life. The importance of finding your own balance and self-worth and position of self-sufficiency becomes obvious to everyone when we realize that the digital economy is here to stay. As content creators, we have to engage with it. Where are we going to run away from it? We have to use it to contribute our gifts to humanity, communicate our message, and shine it upon these platforms. And as we do this, you, me, we will have moments when we will accidentally cross a platform boundary and be sanctioned. Our post will be flagged or reach restricted. And instead of becoming shattered by such an eventuality, which would happen if we were actually depending on the digital platforms of our life to actually reward us, But instead of doing that, if we had a sense of prior agency where we were interacting with these platforms as tools, we would not be disempowered. And instead, we would proceed on our life sure of our light and realize that it is our light that shines upon these stages, platforms, and digital worlds of our life. Such a position will enable us to not only maintain our inner balance, but be true owners of our message and our light. The data is clear. There is data that clearly shows that real connection produces a resilience and resistance to becoming addicted to social media. Evidence that shows that students with high scores of friendship satisfaction tend to use their cell phones less. And this appears to have a biological basis, because recent data and research in the pharmacological field of treatment of diabetes and obesity using GLP-1 drugs that work on our satiation centers and induce a sense of satisfaction have been found that in addition to decreasing compulsive eating, it also reduces other compulsive behaviors like tobacco use, recreational drug use, and alcohol use. Such research is still emerging and it's very exciting right now, and a lot of work still needs to be done. But these and other data promise a huge breakthrough in our own understanding of the science and biology of human gratification. Therefore, the solution is simple. Real connection with engagement with real people produces a lasting sense of fulfillment that continues long after we become alone and after we stop interacting with others. I, in my clinic, have found over the years that helping people develop the skill of passively observing their surroundings without the constant mental chatter of judgment and interpretation that goes on produces a sense of inner balance and clarity of being that greatly assists their ability to manage the demands on their attention. Take a walk with a friend and engage in a long conversation where you're in a space of connection and listening. Sit down for a long, heartfelt chat with a friend over coffee. By finding what makes ourselves whole and nurturing it and cultivating it first, we shift our engagement with the digital platforms of our life from a position of dependency to a position of conscious engagement. Therefore, as we walk together towards the future of our life, let us realize that our attention is our true wealth and treat our attention as our most valuable currency. Discover that anything that says no to the theft of attention says yes to whatever else makes us valuable. Live with the intention that we all are self-sufficient, fully whole right now, just as we are. Next time you pick up your phone, ask yourself the question, am I seeking satisfaction or am I already satisfied? The answer will transform how you interact with the world and your life. Thank you.